Hey, everybody. I am Monty Mott. I want to thank you for investing in the Shareholders podcast. I have a very special guest. Sometimes I meet people through this show, but other times I'm really excited when I can have an old friend on or somebody I've known for a long time. That's who I have today. Her name is Amber Cain. She is in Atlanta. She is many things, wears many hats, a businesswoman, educator, a mother, a lot of things there. First of all, hello, Amber. How you doing today?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Thank you for being on. So,
Thank you for having me.
yes. And so a quick little insight very quickly. Like I said, I've been knowing Amber for a long time. And I used to live in Michigan and she used to live in Michigan and we went to the same church. And we weren't like close back then, she was younger and you know how it is,
Yeah.
I'm high school, I'm grown, you know what I'm saying? Talk to these like young folk. But so she moved and she went to college, and this is how long ago this was. And on Facebook, I believe it was Facebook, and I think she posted something like, I just got through grad school. And I'm gonna tell you what, guys, for some reason that just stayed with me. I said, wow, she's really doing well, grad school. And so maybe a week or so later, I actually reached out to her. I said, how are you doing? We probably hadn't talked in years. And she told me, oh, good, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And it honestly, guys, it inspired me. And that was probably, I think, 2013. And I started my first podcast in 2014. And part of that catalyst that kind of really gave me a push was hearing her testimony, because we talked a little bit. So you
Wow.
guys can thank her a little bit for me, all this yapping I've been doing all these years. But I just want to get into it very quickly because you are, among other things, you are a teacher. And I want to know, so for Atlanta, because there's so many different protocols and things and stuff like that. First of all, how are you getting back into your classroom? Is it virtual, or is it you going to have your students, or how is it going to go?
Well, first of all, that introduction, you never know how much of an impact you're making on people just living your life and day to day.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. And I'm grateful, I'm thankful that I'm able to inspire you and hopefully others. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But so in Georgia, we start back much earlier than some other places. So we started back August 3rd.
Oh, wow.
Right. So yeah, it's about to be a month, or is it a month? Well,
Just
technically.
Wow.
So it's been a while, and we are virtual. So we are operating. We're trying to have a normal schedule, which means they're going from class period to class period as usual. Mm-hmm. Having elective courses, having study hall, all of that stuff. We're having like a normal schedule, but it's just virtual. Mm-hmm. So if we do transfer back to brick and mortar, then they could just easily continue to follow their schedules.
So, at the church, a couple of weeks ago, we just had teachers on and people talking about this, and educators and things like that. So I'm sure you're a proponent, if you had to pick, of course, having the students there, but doing what we can, what with pandemic and things like that. Can I ask you, first of all, from your perspective, how much of a transition was it to really, did it take you a while, or did you kind of just jump into it with Zoom and all this stuff? How long did it take you to get comfortable, in really doing it this way?
Well, I consider the spring kind of like our trial period. Mm-hmm. So I'll say that technology was already largely used in our school. So we already had all the kids on Google Classroom, and they were already accustomed to looking for their class information on Google Classroom. So all we did really in the spring was added Zoom for our, so to speak, face-to-face instruction, or, face-to-face time virtually, instead of just adding assignments and then they're not seeing their teachers or hearing explanations or being able to ask questions. So we transitioned to Zoom, and I think like a lot of people around the nation, that was like my first time really using Zoom.
Right, me too.
So now I'm like zoomed out. We're on Zoom right now. So Zoom has been a thing. And so now it's not hard to use. I know how to make different classes to record it under different names. So basically all I do is we have our Zoom session. We do the breakout groups, just like regular groups. I think the kids are used to it now. So yeah, we do group work. We do presentations and group shares, and we watch videos. Like, we just have regular class in Zoom, and the students will post their work in our Google Classroom, and I will post the video recording so that they can go back and reference that if they have questions, in addition to sending me an email. So I think it's pretty smooth. I mean, it's a lot of work, but it's smooth, and I think everyone's kind of like in the routine at this point.
Yeah. Wow. So yeah, it seems like you guys are really kind of rolling with this. We're just in Nevada. We're just kind of getting started, and so there's a lot of trepidation. But that's actually encouraging to hear that you guys are doing pretty well. So have you, with your students then, do you notice a difference in the way they are learning? And I know that's probably the most important issue, is because I've heard so many statistics and kids don't really learn well this way, but it's the best. Right. Have you noticed a difference? And, I'm not really maybe even talking about like their test scores, but just how they're retaining what you're trying to teach them,
So because we're doing it this way, where it seems like a normal class session, I feel that it's pretty parallel to what it would be if it were actually face-to-face and brick and mortar. But just a couple funny things, like today, I ended the class session and I had one student that was just lingering and his head was down. So I said, did this boy fall asleep during the class period? And I had to end the Zoom and he was still on there, just knocked out. So as soon as I ended the Zoom, I tried to call every number in our system. You know how they have the phone numbers listed, and nobody answered the phone. And I said, he got away this time, because had we been in person, he probably would have got thumped in the ear or something.
Right. Yeah.
It's just stuff like that. But I think they have to be invested. They have to pay attention. Like, I can't put my hand on their back or redirect them physically or in person. Yeah. So I have to rely on them to do what they need to do. And then I have to rely on parents to answer their phone when I call them. Yeah. But I think for the most part, I think the kids are going to do well. And, it's not as big of an issue as some of the media has been making it. I would say it's probably more so right wing. But, one thing that I will say is we've made it more natural than we did in the spring. So in the spring, it was just like a quick shift and maybe it wasn't so effective. But now I think we're rolling it out in a more thought out way. And so we're able to reach the students better.
Okay, so I want to ask you about those parents in 1 second, but I've been saying, and I want to know, it's just like a funny meme that's been going on. I don't know if it's true. Do the kids have to be dressed in a certain way? And if they're not, how can you enforce that? Like if little Jimmy come in with some pajama pants, like what, is there like a discipline thing you can do to stop that, or?
Well, no. I mean, yeah, so there's been some things that I've heard and a couple things that I've seen. So yeah, for our school, we are not enforcing a dress code. We're just enforcing to be dressed and have your camera on. Yes, please. That's the bare minimum. Like, please, just put some clothes on. But I've had like a dad walk by in the background with no shirt on and some drawers. Like, just walk by. Like, hello, sir. We are having class. Yeah. And I had a student that didn't have on a shirt, and I just told him, like, such and such, put a shirt on right now, please. And so they went and did it. But it's just simple redirection. They're like, okay, all right. Okay, Ms. Cain.
Yes. So now, as we transition to the parents, do you feel like, is it better now with, I know sometimes teachers, you know, are like, man, these parents that don't come to the parent-teacher conferences are not as engaged, and it helps so much when the parents are engaged for the teachers to have some, you know, help at home. Don't just send your kid to a school and just drop them off and don't know what's going on. Is this helping? Is this better, or is it a little worse, or is it about the same in terms of the parents' interaction with you and the student?
I think it's about the same, but I'll say that the school that that I am working for has pretty strong parent engagement anyway. So it's about the same. The parents want to know that the students are adjusting well, so they want the feedback. So I think the issue right now is more so that I'm calling from my home number as opposed to them seeing like a school number. Yeah. So they may not answer. So I'll have to leave a message and then wait on them to get back with me when they can. So that's probably more of the thing as far as missing calls. And then I'm sure they're also juggling a lot at this time, possibly working and making sure their children are on task, and who knows what else they're managing in their household. So yeah, it's a little rough.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's again, it's not what we want, but we're doing what we can. I'm speaking with my good friend Amber Cain. This is the Shareholders podcast. I'm so glad to have her on. She was a little hesitant, but again, I knew she would be great because
I wasn't hesitant.
She was like, "What? Me?"
That's a long story.
Yes, you. But it's really. I'm glad to. I've been blessed on this show to really talk with people, and God always kind of provides the right person for the right time. So again, I'm thinking on our perspective of what we're doing. So now you are also a parent. So so how is your son? How is he doing for him? Because it's easy for us to talk about other folk kids, but how's your son doing?
Oh, he's gonna be mad about me putting him out here. Okay, well, I'm gonna keep it real. So he is very responsible. I have to, the teachers say the positive things first, right? So he's very responsible. He sticks to his schedule. He's accountable for his grades. He's an AB honor roll student for the last 2 years. Right. And so he's in beta club. So I've really been able to rely on him to do what he needs to do academically. Now for the other part. But I cannot get him to keep a shirt on. I'm like, sir, yes, we are at home, but your camera needs to be on and you need a shirt on. Like, treat it like regular school.
Doing the workouts, he's just trying to lift full season,
Well, he is a new teenager. He just turned 13 August 2nd.
Wow, really?
Yes. I can't believe he's 13. So he is going through that phase where he thinks, he's a football player. He thinks he's just
come on, muscles. Let's go. Yeah, there we go. That is good. I mean, I know it's when your mother's the teacher, it seems like that extra pressure, but that's really good to hear. I want to transition now to some other things. We've seen in the news and along with the pandemic, there's been a lot of social unrest, and we've seen a lot of political things happening. We've seen some unfortunate things with African American people, and we're going through another situation right now. And I've had the pleasure of talking to some amazing Black women and strong Black women, and they're doing well. And I want to ask this question to all of you. Do you feel like, with, George Floyd really sparked some things, and then, it kind of reminded us of some of the other things that we had maybe missed a little bit, including Breonna Taylor. And do you feel like Black women are really getting the push or the attention needed for a lot of social issues that directly affect them? I know there's kind of a collective thing, but I like to ask this because I don't ever want it to be overlooked. Do you feel like Black women as a whole are being represented well in this social injustice push that we see right now?
Well, I don't see this. So that's I don't know where to start with that question. It's a lot to unpack, but I don't see this as a male woman issue, male female issue. I see this more as a Black issue that I think we've been working together to try to protest and resolve. What I do know is that Black women and women in general, I think women, the demographic of women in general, vote or outvote men. So a lot of the way we show our support beyond just being on the ground with the men, you know, doing the protests and advocating, is to show up and show out at the voting booths. And I think that's very important to continue to exercise those rights, especially in this upcoming election. It's definitely a referendum on some of the things that have been going on and how they have been handled. So I don't see it, just back to your question, as a male-female issue per se. I think we're battling for Black rights in general, because to be honest, if I'm pulled over, I'm doing the same things that I tell my son to make sure he practices when he begins to drive and when he's with me or someone else. So we have to act the same. We have to do the same things in order to take the precautions that we need as a race.
That's a really key thing, because like I said, you know, there was kind of a thing with George Floyd, and then some people were like, well, don't forget about Breonna Taylor. And I kind of didn't like the narrative, because it kind of was splitting us, like, oh, you know, now y'all say something for the Black man, but not the Black woman. And it kind of got a little, and I kind of felt like you, like, listen, this all of us, you know what I mean? we all in this together, and I didn't want any division. And for the most part, I feel like it has been positive.
Right.
And it has been, you know, unified.
I mean, and then thinking back, the Sandy Bland issue, I mean, people were all over that the same way that they are and they were of some of the other people. So I don't see it to be a division there.
Which is, we really, and you spoke too about going to vote, and not just, I mean, everybody knows there's the obvious with the national election, but a lot of your local elections, and, you know, people kind of skip over that. And really, a lot of things that affect you directly are those local elections. You know, I mean, I always be asking people, you know, do you know who your state rep is? Do you know who the senators are? Do you know who your Congress people are? Because that, more of your daily life is affected there. So, I mean, I like that you said it as well. I do want to ask you, I'm not going to hold you too much. You know, I got a little.
You had that smirk. I got scared, like, oh, Lord.
So, speaking of, you know, women and women of color and change and all that, we know that Kamala Harris has been put on for the vice president for the Democratic nomination with Joe Biden. I want to know how you feel about an AKA getting shine.
That's so funny, because, you know, that was the first thing that I was going to say. You know, I have to bring a little petty. Besides the fact she's an AKA.
Right. See, I knew. That's what I was.
Besides that, I am happy that we have a Black woman candidate, and hopefully we will have a Black woman vice president. And I support her, and I'm proud of her, just like I would if she were my soror. But I still support her the same.
That was, when I heard that, I'm for real, I thought of you, because I know a few Deltas, but you're one of the prominent ones. I said, I wonder how she's feeling about that. I'm glad I waited.
Well, I did make a couple jokes. I did.
See, we go.
I did send a couple gifts and all that stuff.
It is what it is on that.
It's all love. It's all love.
Yeah. But no, very much a very historic. That was very historic to see that, you know, even, and, you know, it's funny, in your state in Georgia, I follow very closely, which I don't want to get too bogged down in politics, but I remember when Stacey Abrams was running, and Oh boy, but there was talk of her maybe getting the nomination at one point and stuff like that. So I was very excited as well for that. I've heard her speak a couple of times as well. I was very impressed with her. But
Very dynamic.
Yeah.
Her and Keisha Lance Bottoms.
And my next one too is
which is my soror.
See, okay, so we just go transition to that next. It's your girl, Keisha Lance Bottoms, who's the mayor of Atlanta, and I've just been very proud overall, and not just to be like happy for Black folk, but just in the way that, of course, there's gonna be people that be hating and stuff, and I knew that was gonna come and whatever, but just the fact that overall people are now really realizing, it's crazy to say this in 2020, but yes, Black women are really now, I had some people on last week and they said they're not just taking a seat at the table, they demanding a seat at the table, and they are pushing aside anybody that's got a problem with it, and I'm very glad to see that.
I definitely think that's been, like you said, that's been happening. Yeah, it's been happening. And in fact, Black women are a lot of the times mover and shakers to get things done in the background and in the forefront.
Yeah.
But a lot of stuff would not have, happened, or the way would not be paved for some of these other people without the Black women that are in the background. So like, I probably don't even need to go through the list, but there's been lots of people in the background and then a few people in the forefront, but it is more prevalent these days.
Well,
absolutely.
Me and coming from church backgrounds, Black women is the backbone, I should say, of the church, the praying mothers and all of that stuff that really, so we know. But yeah, I'm just so glad for this time with you, and I really appreciate it that you came on just to talk, and it's been really enlightening. So I want to know just one more thing as well. So do you have any political aspirations for yourself? Like you think maybe I always be one that I kind of be feeling like that could be another thing for you. I don't know.
Really?
I really do, because you could. I really feel you could. Like,
I never considered it.
Are you serious?
I've never considered it. Like, I'll do some phone banking and some canvassing to support someone else, but I've never considered that for myself. I actually don't think that I'm the best public speaker, and it's a lot of, I know, but it's a lot of time. It's a huge time commitment. And I feel like I'm already doing 50 jobs. So I don't know how I could squeeze that in.
Are you busy already, huh? Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
But that's a good question.
I'm just putting it out there. Y'all.
Yeah.
Maybe next time she come on, she might have some news for us. I just feel like, but who knows?
Okay, you speaking some stuff now. Hey. I don't know. I never thought about it.
And you never know. But thank you, Amber. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on the Shareholders. You guys check us out, of course, our website, mightysharpshow.com, and you social media stuff. Are you still on? I don't even know if you really on. She's so busy, y'all. She don't even be on social media. That's how you know you busy. Like, I don't think, are you on Instagram or anything? Or?
I haven't been, but I'm actually in the process of creating social media accounts for my new design business. So I can send you that information later if you'd like to share with your audience. Definitely. But at this time, I'm taking a fast from social media.
Well, please do.
Aside from work-related things.
Well, send me your information. I would be glad to post that as well. But thank you for coming on. Have a great day, and I appreciate it. And we're looking for you in the 2028 Senate race, maybe. So we don't know.
Thank you.
All right. I'll see you.
This has been a production of the Mighty Sharp Network. Executive producer is Monty Mont. Watch the corners and always stay sharp.
God will provide all my needs.